Hello again, friends. This is XB Walker, and as always, I'm skipping the nonsense chatter and just getting straight to the review. So, do you like the city building and survival aspect of games like Banished, but wish that it had the tech tree advancement of games like, say, Rimworld or Dawn of Man? Speaking of Rimworld, do you love the global map concept and feeling like you're part of a large world, but wish that the game had 3D graphics? Well, here comes Sapiens, a new game from indie developer Magic Jungle. In Sapiens, you take on the leadership of a small tribe located in a massive, and I mean massive, randomly generated world. The early days of your tribe see you gathering basic resources to survive and building your first structures. As time progresses, you and your people's needs, well, not your needs because you're a god of sorts, but your people's basic needs are filled, and you will start focusing on researching your way through the tech tree to unlock better buildings, musical instruments, better tools, and a whole lot more. After some time, and assuming that everyone doesn't just die of starvation, you'll have a thriving village on your hands and ensure that your tribe continues long into the future. Okay, so that is a snapshot of the game, but what are the actual pros and cons from someone who has played it? Well, I'm making this review about 10 hours into the game after my second run through, or amidst my second run through, as you'll see in most of the video here. Also, keep in mind it's only been out a few days as of the time of this video, so please take all these opinions with that understanding in the back of your head. First, the game plays very well. In my 10 plus hours of gameplay, I never had a crash. I only encountered one minor bug where my people wouldn't gather beets, and a quick reapplication of the task fixed that, so big props to the indie developer for releasing such an incredibly stable game, or at least for me it was stable. I can't say it's stable for everybody, but I'm not seeing too many complaints about bugs, to be honest. Next, all of the functions within the game run exactly as they should. Hunting, gathering, planting, building, they all work without issues. Your people do it. There's no trick to it. There's no glitches that I ran into. However, that does bring me to a few things that I feel would immensely improve the game. Now, mind you, these are not broken features I'm about to mention, but rather things I would improve on just to improve the player experience. For one, the game needs resource zones. Now, I mentioned Dawn of Man before, and there is a system in that game that they should consider adopting here in Sapiens. It's called resource zones. In Sapiens, as your tribe grows, the micromanaging begins to become a bit cumbersome. Now, it's not the end of the world. You're not constantly micromanaging, but you do start to notice that it's a lot of clicking around for things that you really shouldn't have to, that your people should be smart enough to do on their own. Pretty soon you're spending half your time telling people to pick fruits or remove sticks, or I mean, the game does have zone control, but it's one-time use. You can select a zone, tell them to do something, and they'll go do it, and then to get them to do it again, you have to tell them all over again when those resources become available again. Now, the game, I'd love to see the adaptation of permanent zones, just so that they don't repeat the task only when you tell them to. Like, if you're surrounded by forest, your people should just know they need to go get sticks whenever those sticks are available, or at least you should be able to tell them that. You could have a gather fruit zone, so every time that oranges come into season, or apples, or whatever, they go and gather those oranges and apples. I played a game earlier where half of my people starved to death because, well, it's half my fault, of course. I didn't tell them to gather fruit like I should have, and by the time I told them, half of them, they just up and left. Next up, the UI in general could use some serious love. Now, this is the part that I feel, in the most immediate sense, could be fixed. Right now, your resources are available to view, but only through a menu. I'd love to see some on-screen representation of your tribe's supplies, be it a thing on the left like in Rimworld where you see all your resources there, or something along the top like I've seen in many other games where it just shows all of your basic supplies. How many axes do you have? How many seeds or food or whatever? And I think that would be very helpful. Right now, you can view your resources, but they're only viewable through a menu that you have to click through. I'd love to see that become on screen. This could be something that mods can do. I don't know if how moddable the game is, but it's possible that modders can actually mod in a UI, which would be great. Now, some of the complaints that I've seen of the game on negative reviews, which there aren't very many to be honest, have been related to the lack of UI, and I do tend to agree with that sentiment, although it's certainly not enough to earn a downvote from me. One other thing that the game could use is a larger tech tree. Now, right now you can get away with about 4 to 6 hours of gameplay with the current tech tree, which ends at brick buildings. That is totally acceptable right now. Obviously, the game is very early access. It just came out. We shouldn't expect, 70 technologies, but a larger tech tree and many more build options will definitely keep people playing longer. And I'm sure that that is planned and hopefully not planned for the long term, but something they're working on closer to the near term. The admin roadmap has stated that multiplayer is a midterm goal. And that's all well and good, but I feel like the single player portion of the game should really be fleshed out first. There is a huge amount of room in-game for improvements on that front. Also, I do know that multiplayer implementation in any game is one of the hardest and most time-consuming processes. And I think most players would agree that they'd rather the game itself be complete before a multiplayer element is added in. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. You tell me in the comments if I'm wrong on that one. Next up is tribal attacks, animal attacks. I know these are all in the developers' roadmaps, so I'm not going to complain that they're not there. They have mentioned that they are putting those in. More automated behavior as you grow and transition more towards a city builder would always be accepted. I think that one of the strengths of the game is as your tribe gets bigger and bigger, you transfer from maybe a populous type of game where you're a god and you're guiding your people to more of a city builder game where you're just in charge of building buildings, making paths, and turning it into an actual town. I think they should really lean into that in the late game. Ultimately, though, I think Sapiens is a really cool game and it has all the framework of a great game in the future. Many new things that we'd love from games like, many of the things we love from games like Rimworld and Banished, they're all there, or at least the promise of them is there. Now it's up to Magic Jungle to take this influx of cash that I hope they're getting from their growing game and invest it in a larger team and perhaps faster development of some of these other concepts. Regardless, I do recommend that you check out Sapiens, if only to encourage good developers like Magic Jungle to keep putting out great products like this one. You can find Sapiens on Steam for about $25, at least at the time of this recording. And I do recommend that you get it if you can. So I will see you all out there in the wilderness. This is XB Walker. Until next time, thank you for watching.